Hey everybody, welcome back to Cooking with Alex. How you doing? So today I'm going to show you how to make some awesome squidding noodles. Let's go! So for our mise en place, we have our ingredients, which is 2 cups of flour, 4 eggs, salt to taste, and our squidding powder. Yummy! Alright, let's get going. So, we're going to pour out our flour, we're going to create a nice little cavity in there, and we're going to start cracking our eggs. So we're going to start mixing. I'm going to use a fork to help me out here. And I'm just going to start from the center, putting some flour in the mix. And right here you can see Chicken Little try to get away again, and that's okay. You know, there's no need to freak out. All we have to do is just start pushing it back into the flour mixture and just keep mixing. Just have fun with it. That's the cool thing about cooking that I enjoy. So here you're going to start seeing that it's starting to clump up a little bit, and that's perfectly fine. Just take your fork, pinch between your fingers, and you see that came off pretty nice and neat. And we're going to continue mixing with our hands and just have fun. Again, that's the cool thing about cooking, you know, is it's fun, or you can make it as fun as you want to. So here I'm doing a really good thorough mixing and kneading of the dough with the flour. If you've seen my other video, I didn't really take this long, but we're going to be adding squid ink powder, and it's definitely going to change the flavor. So I'm making sure there's a lot of flour mixed in there. But now you can see it's taking its and holding its shape, but I'm just going to knead it around a little more. Again, just have fun with it. So now you can see we got this awesome little bowl, and we're going to clean up our area. We're going to get a new area. We're going to sanitize it. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So now everything's clean and sanitized, because again, we're working with egg. Egg tends to carry salmonella, especially, you know, at room temperatures. It starts getting all that. So once it's all clean and sterilized, we're going to start kneading the dough again. And this is no added flour. This is just how we set it off to the side and then continue working with it. So again, I'm going to knead for a while. Just make sure that flour is really worked in there and that dough is really has a good consistency and texture. Again, it's going to feel like Play-Doh, and it's going to have an elasticity as well. So as you're doing it, it's going to get a little hard, but just keep working through it. And if it rips, that's okay. Just keep kneading. I kneaded here for quite a bit. And then that's when it started to stick to my glove. And when it sticks to your glove, you know, it's not a bad sign, but it leaves a lot of stuff behind, and it makes it kind of uncomfortable to work, and you don't want your glove to rip inside your dough. So for that, since there's already a lot of flour in the mixture, I'm just going to add very little bit on the counter. So once there's a little bit, I'm just going to plop it down on there, push down, flip it, you know, push down there again, and then I'm just going to rub the flour on the top of it, because that's all we really need. We don't need a whole lot. And then you're going to see that as I start kneading it here, a little bit of flour goes a long way, because even once I'm done kneading it, there's still spots of flour that you'll see, this little spots of white. So now that's all done, we're going to roll this into almost a teardrop shape, which I think is pretty fun to do. Just because here the flour hasn't really absorbed, or the dough hasn't really absorbed any of the flour yet. So it's still kind of elastic, almost feeling. But once you pack it down into a ball, I see that big crevice there, so I have to kind of fix that. But once you get it down to a little teardrop shape, you're just going to kind of push down with your palm, make it a circular shape. And look at the bottom, it looks fantastic, nice and smooth. Once you do that, we're going to go ahead and grab some plastic wrap. And we're just going to wrap this in plastic, probably about for like 2 to 5 minutes while we get our pasta maker set up. So now we got that. So now we have the shuffler. This is what I use to make all of my pastas. So it comes with spaghetti and fettuccine noodles, which we're doing today for this dish. So this is how easy it is to set up. This is everything that comes in the box. This is your cutter to cut to the width of the machine. Just kind of bolts it down to the counter there. So I couldn't get this out because of this little box here, and I'll show you what's in that box in a little bit. But we're going to take out one of the main parts of it, which is going to be your rollers, to get it down to the size you want or need to. So we're going to go ahead and take it out of the bag. I'm just going to set everything off to the side for now until it's ready to put away and we're done making the noodles. So I just line it up with the edge to edge. Get my little bolter downer. You can see it slides through the center there, just pokes through, and then you just kind of tighten it down to your counter. And you want to make sure it's tight too, because you're going to see later on when I start doing the standard dough where it's too thick, and as I'm turning it, it's actually putting a lot of torque on the machine. But inside this little box is where the magic happens, as I say. This is where we can turn our dough after we roll it into spaghetti or fettuccine noodles. It's a beautiful machine, and it's super easy to use. So it just kind of there's little tracks there. You can just line up the tracks. Got a little bit of difficulty here, but just line them up there, slide them on there, and we're good. So we're going to clean up our little box and plastic area. Get it out of there. We don't need it anymore. At least not until we're done. So we have our handle, which is going to turn our rollers. So, it goes there, and you'll see later on when we start making the noodles how it goes on the back side. But from here, let's get ready to make our noodles. All right, so let's get making the noodles. All right, so now that we have our dough again, it's been sitting here for about 2 to 5 minutes. Again, not too long. We're going to get our squid ink powder and our salt to taste. Awesome. But since we're doing squid ink powder, we're going to have to add those in separately, not together, right? So let's go ahead and take our noodle dough out of the plastic. And be sure not to throw your plastic away, because we're going to use it for the other half of the dough. So we're going to take this, we're going to cut it in half. So we're going to have some half, then we're going to wrap this into the dough. And this is going to be our white noodles. So just our standard plain noodles that we're going to use with the salted. This one we're going to use with the squid ink powder. So what I'm going to do is create a little cavity. A little crater. I guess I don't want to say cavity. Sounds weird. So we'll do a little crater into our dough here. Just be careful with it, because the squid ink powder does have 510 milligrams of sodium. So if you overload this, your noodles are going to be way too salty. So here you're going to see I'm using just a tiny bit to get started. It does definitely have a fishy smell to it, because of course it's squid ink. So I'm just going to fold it over and start working at it. And with this squid ink, it's definitely gave it a different texture. Not like noodle wise, but just working with it, I could feel the difference between when I just normally use salt, and because I've made noodles plenty of times now. But I can see that it's not really marbling or going anywhere. It's slightly marbling, but it still has a lot of white. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create another little crater in there and get more squid ink powder. And I'm going to pour some on there. I'm really going to just put it on there. Not a lot. It looks like a lot just because it's so black, but you'll see how much it is. And even I thought I put too much. So what I started doing is I just kind of started like dusting it off with my thumb, trying not to really push it in there. But then I was like, okay, it's not too bad. And when I started bending it outwards, it kind of also started, throwing the excess off onto the counter, which is fine. So you can see here, I'm just kneading it again. I'm really paying attention to the color and the feel of it. So, I'm just kind of tearing it, make sure I'm really getting it past to the center and just kind of all the way around the dough. So you'll see here, I just keep folding it, inside out. It's okay if it's tearing. Throw some more on there. See, it's not really turning the color I want it to, which is black, of course, but I don't want to just fully go there, because as you're mixing it and kneading it and rolling it, it's all going to get mixed in there anyway. So this is why you want to be very careful. So you're going to see here, I just start kneading it again. And now you can really see the beautiful marbling coming from the dough. You can see that the black is really mixing in there. When I put it back on the counter, it's still grabbing some of that black powder that's on there. And it's just coming together really nicely. So as I'm doing that, I see, okay, I need a little bit more. So I'm just going to like drag my finger. So you see, I just kind of slide it. And that's all I do. I don't actually like, salt it on there or anything. I just kind of let it pick up what it wants. I just keep working it in there, and you can see it just keeps still grabbing from the counter, which is perfectly fine. And then you could really see here that the dough kind of becomes like a Play-Doh texture. Like it's just like, oh, it just wants to hold that shape really well. And we get this beautiful marbling. And that's pretty much about all you need. As food talks to you, which is awesome. It's like, okay, I'm good here. So we're gonna go ahead and clean it up. So now we're all cleaned up. We're gonna get new gloves. We're gonna sanitize. We're gonna wash our hands because that squid ink stuff it's pretty good. So I just want to prove that I do change my gloves, as every good chef should, or even cook. Just if you're cooking, just make sure you change your gloves. So here we're gonna use a roller as well, and we're gonna grab our fantastic bowl, and we're gonna grab our cutter here so we can measure it so it fits the machine. And you can see this is really nice too, because normally to get the dough not to stick to the roller here, you'll add some flour, and everything else. But with the ink powder in there, it honestly just made it not stick. So it was really nice. So here I'm measuring it. And you can see it's a little too big. So all I'm going to do is just kind of smash in the sides, kind of build them up a little bit more. So it fits that cutter size. And now you can see it's perfect. But it's too thick. And I want it to have that even, all the way through. So I'm just going to roll it out, make sure it's kind of even, flip it around, and just work the back out. Just work it around. So you can see it's still a little too big. So again, just going to pack it in there again and roll it out. Whatever. So you can see it's just slightly too big, but that's okay. So I'm just going to cut it anyways, and you can see it's not that big of it compared to the size. So I'm just going to take whatever scraps that I have there and just throw it back in the dough, just because we're not making any more, so we can't just add it to the other one. And it doesn't matter where you put them. You could put them where you see it too thin, or just kind of have fun with it. Because once you start rolling it out, you're going to see it blends right in. And then once you start putting it to the chef fly, you won't even be able to tell. All the noodles will come out perfectly. So here, I'm just going to cut it in half. Or close to half. It doesn't matter. Again, have fun with it. Test it, have fun. So now we got our 2 halves. We're going to get ready for the chef fly. So here for the chef fly, we're going to get our doughs, and we're going to set this at level 1, and we're going to pass it through level 1 twice. So make sure this is really set to level 1. And we're just going to turn the handle. And I usually pass it to this one twice. I usually pass it through this one twice, just so it has an even consistency through the dough. You can see even on the second pass, it's still stretching out a little bit more. So this is perfect. Now we're going to do the same with the other side, and then we're just going to repeat this process until we get to level 7. So now we have these beautiful pieces of dough that have been ran through twice. That sounded terrible. So we switched to level 2 here. And we just keep following the process. So we switch to level 3. Now I'm going to go to level 4. I honestly think I skip 4 and just jump to 5. That seems to be my habit for some reason. Because now we're on stage 6. So I mean, it's not going to hurt your dough too much. But you just have to be careful when you do jump up like that, because it can completely destroy the dough. It can get caught in the machine and become a real big headache trying to fix everything. But again, we're just going to keep that process going and lengthening out the noodle dough here. And this one got a bit long, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it down to size, just so it's a little bit more easy to handle. And we're just going to, again, just pass it through. And if your dough does start going weird, all you have to do is put like a little bit of pressure, with your fingers on it, and it will slowly start pulling it. You just don't want to hold it down too hard because it's going to tear. So again, the food will let you know, let me go. So now it's time to make our noodles. And we're going to go ahead and get a cooking sheet ready, and we're going to put some paper down on it just so it doesn't stick to the baking sheet. And then all you have to do is pass it, pull them through, and put them on there, and you'll be all set to go. So let's get started. So now that we have everything ready to go, we'll make our wonderful ink pasta. You're going to see something really cool here. So you can still see the marbling on the dough itself, but once you pass it through the fettuccine side of the noodles or the maker, you're going to see that it evenly distributes all the ink powder, and they just become like almost jet black noodles, which is awesome. I don't want to say jet black, but they look jet black on the video. But you can still see the marbling on there. It's doing fantastic. It's going straight through, nice and easy. And you see I run my hand underneath to catch them as they're coming out. And look at these beautiful noodles. There's literally like very little marbling to no marbling at all. Like it's just magic. And again, you can see the beautiful marbling here going in. Almost looks like a dark wood pattern, which is pretty cool. And as it comes out, it's just black noodles. Just squid ink noodles right there. It's almost zero marbling. Zero to no marbling. And as they sit too, it's also going to, the squid ink's going to keep bleeding through the noodles. So when it's time to cook, they'll just be black at that point. And they're fantastic noodles. So here's another pass. Another one. You can see just wonderful noodles. And again, you just got to be very careful on how much squid ink you put in there, because it can really salt these bad boys up, and it just wouldn't taste good with your meal. So now we're going to start on just the plain dough. So we're going to clean up everything and get new gloves and get all the squid ink off of here. So again, we're going to sanitize the area. So we're just going to grab our standard dough now. We're just going to make our white noodles, or standard noodles, with our salt to taste. So because the other noodles have so much sodium in them, I don't really want to put too much salt onto these noodles, especially when you're eating them together, else it's going to be very salty, especially with the sauce and everything else. So we just want to add a decent amount, a small amount. So you can see I'm just going to pinch some on there and kind of spread it around, and like that. See, it's not too much, especially with a lot of the flour we added earlier. And here, you're just going to start kneading it and working the salt through. And again, just keep kneading it through. I'll kind of tell you when it's ready. Let's see, you can see here a little bit that this dough is sticking to my roller a lot more than the other one because there's not flour on anything. But again, it's still workable. Just work through it, or you can add flour. It's up to you. Completely your choice. One thing I like about cooking too is you have that freedom. So the top half here ended up really thick for some reason. I don't know why. So you're gonna see I'm just gonna cut it, and I'm gonna add some to the bottom where it's really thin. Just kind of work it in there. And I'm just gonna keep smoothing it out. And again, just because I added those and it looks kind of funny, it doesn't mean it's gonna ruin your noodles at all, or because as you put it through the roller of the chef fly, it's going to give an even consistency through everything. So here, I'm just going to cut it, and you're going to see how much thicker like this section is compared to the ink noodles that we did. And you're going to see why it's important to kind of try to get that a little bit thinner. So here's going to be the perfect example. Again, we're going to start on these noodles with the chef fly. We're going to make sure we're on number 1. Okay. And you're going to see how much more difficult this process is, that these are a little bit thicker pieces of dough. So I should have actually rolled them out a little bit more, but you're going to see the machine start jumping around, and I'm using a lot more force now. But again, it did its job. And the second pass here, you can see it's almost perfect. It just kind of slides through there now. And we're just going to do what we did with the ink noodles and just repeat this process until we get to number 7. Again, I have a habit of skipping number 4. So I run it through the first number twice. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. You can see I fix here because it really torqued on the machine. But again, you can see that now that we're just flying through this process now. Now we're just doing it. And it has the best consistency through all of it, and it's just slowly getting thinner and thinner, and the machine's doing its job by just stretching out the noodles to the size that we need. And you can really see these pieces are really starting to stretch out and get pretty long. So again, if the pieces get, long, or you just want to have, same length noodles, once they hit a certain length, you're like, okay, now it's time to cut it. So like this big one and that little one there, I just kind of cut in half because I know it's going to stretch a little bit more once I put it through number 7 here. And you can see how much longer they get now. And again, if it starts messing up, just hold it down with your finger, like the middle of your fingers on the machine, and it'll slowly start to straighten itself back out. And you see there's still some squid ink in that machine. At least I know next time to do these ones first before the squid ink, but honestly, it baked out. You couldn't even tell. So here, we're going to add these to the fettuccine side, just like we did the squid ink. And we're just going to let it take from our hand and slowly feed it in there. And just let the machine kind of do its own job. We're just guiding it. Look at these beautiful noodles here. Just standard noodles. So now that we have all of our noodles set, we can now put them on the baking sheet. Make sure you separate the black, the squid ink noodles from the white ink, the standard noodles with parchment paper, just so they don't bleed through on each other, and it lets them dry pretty nicely. If they are sticking together, use a little bit of flour. But thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video because I'm going to show you how to make this awesome homemade spaghetti sauce. Yummy. But thank you for watching.